Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome back to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents and ahead of today's Game Week 29 deadline. I'm joined, with apologies to Suj, the two biggest Uniteds in the country. Firstly, it's Simon Bibby, our Newcastle United correspondent. How are you, Si?
Good. Not feeling like one of the biggest Uniteds at the moment, but we'll get onto that, I'm
Well,
sure.
still bigger than West Ham, mate. Not that I can joke about much at the moment. But Alex Trembath probably does think he supports the biggest one at the moment because they're flying. He's our Manchester United correspondent. How are you, Alex?
I'm very well, thank you very much, James. And obviously, footballing matters have been very good recently. So,
They certainly have. You've been on a great run under Michael Carrick, and we'll certainly get onto that. But since Michael Carrick took charge, Sire, you've only picked up 4 points. What's going on?
Oh, I mean, I've been doing this podcast long enough that feels like we're in that kind of 2 games a week Eddie syndrome season. Feels like just a repeat of two years ago, right? Doesn't feel like lessons have been learned. I mean, I've been on this podcast this season already, so don't need to go over like the transfer issues and sort of the players that were brought in. But yeah, kind of I think it boils down to that is like lessons haven't been learned from 2 years ago, and we're still struggling with the same problems, if not more so. Feels like we're having a bit of identity crisis from the team that you put out at the weekend.
Just elaborate on that. What do you mean, an identity crisis?
I think if we run through the team, well, he started playing Walter Marder in midfield, which he touched the ball 14 times, I think. Joel Linton playing left wing didn't seem to make any sense. He changed after about half an hour. Anthony Gordon played four different positions. I think it was something like a 4-1-4-1, maybe. It was hard to see. The same thing as the end of last season when we played Everton, to be honest, just giving the team way too much respect. In hindsight, I think on an earlier pod you did say Everton have got the second best away record, so maybe that played into it. But we're just not attacking teams like we usually do, and whether that's a fatigue thing, trying to manage minutes, goes back to the Champions League tie. We were 6-1 up against Karabag, and he played Trippier for like most of that game. Tonali played a full 90 minutes. Just some bizarre
Wait,
decisions that make me
did
think
he
that
not?
he's questioning
He actually
himself.
said, and it was quite questionable. He said that you hadn't had much time to prepare for Everton, but then picked a relatively strong team in a game that you were already winning 6-1 in.
Yeah, and didn't play like Harvey Barnes didn't start games. It's like it just made no sense to be honest. Like what and 6-1 up, you don't need to be playing like Trippier in that game. But there is a thing around captaincy, the captain's like the leadership group at Newcastle being like quite a closed shop, and he obviously feels like with Burn not playing and Bruno injured that he has to play Trippier. It just didn't really make sense. And I think the team that came out the weekend were kind of scared. You saw like every time when we equalised both times, we were pretty much just like happy to get a point, and the concentration wasn't there. Mentality is weak at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. We can get into it a bit more on like Howe and his status, but it feels like he had a really telling press conference a couple of weeks ago where he was talking about like scratching his head and trying to find solutions. And to be honest, I'm not sure with the current personnel he's got available if he's got the answers to fix this at the moment.
So
But
is it as much a personnel issue? Key people like Bruno Fernandes missing.
I mean, like the record with and without him stands for itself. Like we are terrible when he doesn't play and struggle to win Premier League games, and you can't. Like every Premier League game is competitive. Every team is, no matter how shit you think the teams down the bottom are, including Spurs at the moment this season. You are going to get competitive games like whoever you play in
Well,
this
you've
league.
won one game in seven. I wonder who that was against.
Exactly, exactly. So
So
we
that
play you
you
every
scratch that
week,
off, that don't
please.
even count. So it's 1 point from the other six. So it's not good.
Yeah, I just think he's struggling. I think he's almost got a bit of an identity crisis himself. We need to play a certain way with a certain intensity and certain belief in our approach, and we just don't have that. Four losses at home on the bounce is it's pretty startling.
Yeah, I mean, we always consider St James's one of the toughest venues to go without a doubt, but he doesn't particularly feel that way at the moment. It must be said, you'd be bottom half on a home league table, which is, I know your away form for a long time has been quite badly documented, but actually the home form is part in reason why you are where you are. If you'd won the last three home games, for example, you'd be right in contention for
Yeah, away
maybe not
away
Champions
form's
League place, maybe, but at least European qualification. That looks a struggle now. I'd say it's still achievable. It might drop down to maybe eighth, possibly even ninth, right? You could still finish in that sort of position. But If you go into next season off the back of this one, with then no European football, wouldn't Eddie Howe be exactly the right manager for you again?
Yeah, yeah,
So
ironically, it
this
would.
is the cycle, right?
It is the cycle. I was thinking about this earlier, and I knew this question would come up, and you almost want to like keep him for next season, irrespective of who we sign. I think we would playing one game a week be almost a shoe in, depending on who we lost, because I think you would see some more high profile outgoings if we didn't make Europe. But yeah, we'd get there again, and then the question is like, what competition are we in, and would that be the time to move Eddie on rather than now? I can't see if you sacked him now, like how it would get any better this season. But the run of games we've got coming up, it's looking like that game against the Mackhams, like the pressure is going to be absolutely insane if we're still on this kind of run coming into that game. And that might be too much. That might be too much for even Eddie and all he's achieved with our club to withstand.
So that game in game week 31 against Sunderland would take on significant importance, obviously, in the minds of the fans of afterwards, i.e., the connotations of beating your rival. Okay, fine. Lose to your rival off the back of this sort of run. Big questions. That's what we're saying, right?
But he wouldn't be the first manager to get sacked after losing to Sunderland at home. I think that's how Ruud Gullit went, but he did bench
Yeah.
Shearer that night.
I really thought
Yeah,
you were going
I
to say
think
after a derby. I was going to say my team waited 2 months too long, personally, but continue.
yeah, I've said it all along. Like once we get out of these cup competitions, if we don't win them and we get back to one game a week, and this has FPL ramifications as well. I strongly expect us to have a good finish to the season, whether it's enough or whether we left it too late. That's what's happened the last couple of years. I expect that to happen again, but for the next 3 to 4 weeks, when we're still playing twice a week and we've got all of these really tough games coming up, leading into the derby, it's looking bad. It's looking real bad.
So, priority on your mind right now would be the cup competitions, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think the last time I popped up on Twitter/X, the 3 times I've done this season was to say that we're a cup team now, and that was 2 months into the season. That's how it felt, and I haven't seen anything to change my mind. It feels like there's a motivation, a mentality, and you could possibly label this at how like the stuff he comes out with. You don't come out in a press conference and say we haven't had time to prepare for this game, or the players aren't like mentally like capable. Don't play him against Karabag when you're 6-1 up, then, unless you're scared of what's going to happen on the night. And I feel like that was part of his trepidation of picking as strong a team as he did for that game when he really didn't need to, and he could have played some youngsters coming through. Um, I think that's kind of bled into the players. There's been a bit more chat back. You've seen from like Joe Linton was doing it at the weekend. Tonali's been a bit miffed about coming off. That's probably why he played the entire game. Uh, has he lost the dressing room? I don't think so, but players aren't
No,
being held
I
accountable.
don't think that's the case here.
No, players aren't been held accountable. We didn't sign enough quality players to put pressure on them. All you're seeing is like the rotation of 2 or 3 players, and if you have a stinker, you're out the team. For the most part, I'd say like Barnes has been massively unfairly treated. Like he has to score a goal every game, or he's taken out of the team. Should have played against Everton at the weekend. No reason why not to, except for to fit other players in. And then you saw like we were much better when he came on, had some threat down the left. And I said Gordon played in 4 different positions after he got moved from centre forward. Didn't look that interested, to be honest. And I think the crowd played a part in that. I think they got on his back a bit, and he was at fault for a goal or two. And he always has a stinker against Everton. Fuck knows why I decided to put him in my FPL team, but I felt like it was that big a
You
game
didn't
against
you didn't just
Everton.
put him in your team, did you?
No, I captained him. Yeah, I bought into the carrier bag hype from the previous couple of weeks, but like even he seems to be like I don't know whether he's just farming for a Champions League move or something this summer, but he's just his head seems to go now in the league. He can't he's just not putting the same level of performances as he's somehow able to with all the penalties and stuff in Europe.
Okay. Alex, it's a kind of a bizarre scenario for yourselves coming into this in relation to Newcastle, because I think we all do this. We know Newcastle away, tough game for everybody. They've got 3 home games in 7 days. Yours is the least important to them.
It's
Can you
interesting.
believe that?
It's interesting when you put it like that because I was looking at this. I've been obviously this is the period of the season where, in theory, we're going to have hopefully see the biggest benefit from playing only in one competition. And I was looking at Newcastle because Newcastle have got this run now of, I think it's 14 days where they play us, City, Chelsea, and Barcelona twice. So, yeah, when you look at it like that. But
I just mean the three home games, because obviously it's City Saturday and then Barcelona Tuesday.
yeah,
So from an atmosphere perspective, it's like it gets bigger each time for Newcastle. So the atmosphere feels like it might not be quite what it would normally be at St James's for a night fixture for Newcastle against Manchester United.
I don't think that I wouldn't expect the atmosphere to be any less intense because the home fans are looking ahead to those. I expect when we go away to Newcastle, it's going to be a very difficult atmosphere for us to deal with. We've lost our last 3 games there in the league. And despite the troubles that Newcastle have had at home this season and all the issues that Simon's been talking about, I still never feel particularly confident going into this fixture.
Okay. No, I mean, I don't think many people do go to Newcastle and feel particularly confident very often, mate. Would that be fair, Si, what I said? That United is the least important of these 3 home games?
I'd say if you're going to order it to the players, yes, based on current form. To how, less so, and to the fans, not really. I think the home form has been that bad that, and as you say, it's a night game. I think they'll turn up. And they turned up against Everton. And you probably feel this at Spurs as well. Like when you don't get anything back off the pitch and you can see things are wrong and the manager's struggling and the decisions that you made pre-game are incorrect and you end up conceding the goals that we did. Like Everton, they had one extra chance other than the goals that they scored, but it was just so haphazard that I don't think the fans will like treat it as like the least important game. Every game's important. Home game, particularly against Manchester U. I'm not going to call them United. That they won't allow that, and it's whether the players will buy into it or not. But I'm not confident. I'm not confident until we're out the cup competitions and there's nothing left to play for, except for getting up that league table. That we'll find that form and we'll have a good end to the season. I think it's going to be another rough one for the next 14 days or so.
Okay. So every chance for you then, Alex, despite recent record at St James's Park, that this positive run continues. I mean, it's 6 wins, 1 draw under Michael Carrick
That is
this time
correct.
round.
Yep.
In the league with the 1 draw at West Ham United. Is he putting on a real show here to say that he should be the guy?
Well, the talk, understandably, the talk that Carrick will be given the permanent role is growing, and that was always likely to happen if we had a push for the Champions League. It's interesting, I think, that one of the deciding factors, supposedly, when the board were choosing between Carrick and Solskjaer, was that Solskjaer was asking to have it written into his contract that he would get the permanent job if he qualified for the Champions League. And they weren't willing to agree to that. But now I think the reality of the situation and the groundswell of support you get when, I mean, nobody really could foresee that it would be as good as it has in terms of results. I think there have been some question marks over performances. I cannot be happier with the situation we're in. But I would be concerned. I mean, despite all of this, despite the excellent progress that we've been making, I would be concerned with Carrick as the permanent appointment.
Why?
Well, in any sense, it's a big risk.
Does it feel like Solskjaer over again?
Yeah,
because obviously Solskjaer came in and you had this, I don't know, 13 games unbeaten or something when he came in as the interim the first time, got the job, and I don't know. I suppose in hindsight you could say he did all right. It wasn't terrible in the job. It obviously didn't work out in the long run.
There are definitely echoes of what happened with Solskjaer. That was a little bit different in that I think the atmosphere was a lot more toxic in the final days of Mourinho, whereas with Amorim, I think there was quite a divided fan base. But needless to say, like Carrick has been a breath of fresh air and everyone's enjoying this situation. But what we haven't seen, because there's been a lot of talk about he's very calm in the way he handles the media. I think he was incredibly smart in bringing in Steve Holland as assistant coach, who hadn't worked with him before. Like, so he hasn't just brought in the team that he had at Middlesbrough. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, Steve Holland was assistant coach to Southgate in the England role, who obviously had a very good defensive setup. He worked under both Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho at Chelsea, where he won, I think, as assistant coach at Chelsea, was part of different setups under 3 or 4 different managers, but won 2 Premier Leagues and the Champions League there. And I think that was just a really smart appointment. And that has been where I think we have seen the biggest improvement under Carrick. The attacking figures, underlying data-wise, have actually gone down a little bit. But defensively, we've been a lot more solid, a lot more controlled. And I think we're averaging under a goal a game conceded. But what we haven't seen with Carrick, and what we will not see this season, is how he is able to handle a squad in multiple competitions, and also dealing with situations of adversity. Because in terms of when it comes to things like handling the media, obviously when things are going well on the pitch, that's a much easier ride. That's a much easier situation to deal with. And I think you really see someone's mettle and the real sense of their skill in handling the media when we hit a difficult situation. We also haven't seen him be put to the test when it comes to facing injury crisis or anything like that. He's had a fairly fortunate situation in terms of player availability while he's been there. By the way, I don't want it to sound like I don't want to take anything away from what he's done, but I'm just saying that these are, because it's been fantastic, absolutely no question about that. But these are question marks that we don't have the evidence of what would happen in that kind of situation.
So almost in a weird way, if hypothetically take a scenario where, say, you lost on Wednesday night and then maybe lost to Villa and only, say, took a draw at Bournemouth and then went into the international break time, won from a possible 9, maybe dipped back down to, say, 5th, for example, and it looks dicey again maybe for Champions League, to then pull back through that and then still achieve it. Is that what you're almost saying? Like, I need to see like an adversity period and him grow through it and the team regain confidence and strength during that, rather than almost just keep winning? I think that's almost that's almost kind of, I get it. It sounds a bit perverse, but I kind of get what you're saying. It's like, if you just keep steamrolling and doing great, it obviously looks wonderful, and you probably go into the summer thinking, can we win the league next year? But you don't know what's going to happen in the bad moments. I understand what you're saying, but if he does keep winning, he's going to get the job, isn't he? And most people are probably going to want him to get it.
Well, I don't think it's an absolute shoe-in. There is the most obvious point is that it's the easiest and cheapest thing for the club to do. I don't think it's actually the safest thing to do. Now, there is the consideration of what will be going on behind the scenes. I mean, we spoke on the Amorim sacking pod about the kind of the power struggle behind the scenes. So we have Christopher Vival, who is our director of recruitment, who I don't believe it's him who would have the final say. I think Wilcox is a sporting director, would be on him. But Vival has a lot of credit in the bank now for what he's done in terms of bringing in, like, recommending Sesko, recommending Lamans. And from everything I'm hearing, Vival is likely to push for Julian Nagelsmann. Knows him very well. They were together at Leipzig. And if Vival is recommending that behind the scenes, I wouldn't disregard that. And I think the club will explore options. I don't think it will necessarily just be a case of Carrick gets the job on a plate.
He might be managing your team next season, Si.
No, we missed out on him as a player.
I'm just thinking of a scenario here. If United, if they continue to unbelievable, Manchester United, but then behind the scenes they're going for Nagelsmann, you can understand that sort of appointment. And then, say, you decide to part ways with Eddie Howe. Where's Michael Carrick from, Si?
I think he's a Wolves end boy. I don't know.
He's a Newcastle boy, isn't he? So,
yeah,
right, there you go.
he is. He is. Never really felt like he was desperate to play for us. Maybe it was just the things didn't align for him during his career. But yeah, amazing football. Always wished he had put on a Newcastle shirt. It's a tricky one. You look at like Howe, and he kind of got everything he wanted it felt like power-wise this summer, and then the Isak thing just completely seemed to like sideswipe the club, and we never really, still haven't recovered from that this season. Um, is he going to get the keys to the war chest again? And we have to spend that money. Like it has to be spent in the next couple of windows now. And I think we've got 3 summer windows until this infamous 2030 challenging for the title plan that the ownership group put in place. Um, do you go to a Carrick in that situation where there
Probably
feels
not.
like,
But
yeah, it feels like the
if he
club's not
continues
set
to do
up for
amazing
it?
at Manchester United, and they go, sorry, we went in a different direction. What I'm saying is, clubs of your potential, you'd be wrong almost to look at it. My club would potentially look at him as well, right? Might depend what league we're in, admittedly.
Yeah, let's see how they recover when they lose a home game against someone in the bottom 6 or 7. I'd say like that's always the thing with the last few Manchester United managers, right, Alex? Like when you have a shit stinker of a home result against a team you're not expected to, like, do you bounce back and do you put on another run of 6 or 7 unbeaten games, or do the wheels start to fall off? So that's the thing with replacing Howe is like, who do we go to? Like, it almost feels like it has to be a big enough name that they
But
can
I guess
run the club
why
inside out.
wouldn't you be in contention for someone like Nagelsmann?
I'm not saying we necessarily wouldn't be, but I mean, we got passed over for every player that we tried to sign in the summer that wanted to go to the other Premier League clubs. So we're like, I think the allure of our takeover and the what's happened with PSR and the fact we've been pushed back down so much, I don't think we're competing at that level again. I think we need to probably think a bit smarter and look at the type of managers that have had success potentially from abroad, that have gone to like Palace and the likes. I think that's our model and what we should be reverting back to. We tried established Premier League players, buying them last summer. None of them have really pushed us on or pushed us forward. So I think the club overall is having a bit of an identity crisis at the moment, and it feels like all of the ingoings and outgoings behind the scenes have not helped. And it's kind of why I think like we should just keep plugging along with Eddie, and whatever happens this season like happens. But I won't be saying that if we lose the time with Derby. So it's all right for me
So
to say that now.
that would be so what you said earlier. That almost would be a tipping point for a lot of people. But as it stands now, you would be happy for Eddie Howe to take charge again and continue next season and have another almost like I don't know, phase 2 of Newcastle, maybe in terms of spending in the summer.
I'm yet to be attracted to a better option. Let's just put it that way. That someone that's available, interested, would be able to like take the club forward, and more importantly, I think has the stability around him and in the board level to be able to actually execute on a plan. I think there's a lot of warnings, I think, of how other clubs have tried to kind of just move with new managers when they feel like they've still got some like upward momentum. You look at like West Ham, how much money they plowed into their club. It just feels like there's too much uncertainty and gaps around the club that Eddie, as a personality and as a voice and as a person of power and influence, can kind of plug outside of what's going on the pitch. That if he were to leave, there would be various different power vacuums, and I think it would just disintegrate into a mess, and we'd end up having to sell. Well, I think if Bruno has to be sold, I think that's like the end of this cycle of the Saudi investment, and I think we move into a completely different like model and just go after big names, and then just cycle through them every couple of seasons, and we just become one of those clubs. Like, hopefully not. It's been enjoyable working under Eddie and kind of this being still part of that initial journey that we went on. But I mean, he's got to get results on the pitch and he's got to figure it out. And yeah, as I said, that time with Derby feels like the timing of it, similar to how we had our first game, was on the back of an impossible run that we knew we were going to be struggling going into. It feels like this one has kind of been lined up perfectly, thanks Premier League.
And Champions League, which you could have just gone out the Champions League anytime you wanted, mate.
The players want to play in it, and
You
you're going
could
to
have rolled
see
over and
two.
not won at Aston Villa. I mean, the officials did everything to try and make sure you didn't go through that night. You could have
Very
just
true.
lost.
Cup competitions, though, I think the league requires a different mentality to be able to go in every week after playing in Europe, like week in, week out, get up for every game, get up for every opposition. I don't think getting up for Manchester United at home is going to be a problem for the players. It might be if we go behind early. and things might start to get a bit ugly. But I wouldn't say like we've got no shot at that game, and I'm almost kind of not relieved, but I'm happy that it's a bigger name that's coming up, and we're not having to play like another Brighton or Everton or a team that we're fancied and kind of almost have like a mental block about playing at home now.
Okay, understand that. All right. I assume you both own Bruno Fernandes in FPL at the moment.
Absolutely.
Si's shaking his head.
I had him before he got injured, and now my dad's got him. And I'm so far, I'm having a shit FPL season, but I'm so far ahead of him now that if I bring him in, he's going to cry about it, and it's not even worth it. So I've gone without Bruno, and I am not enjoying it. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. At time of recording, we don't know where we're at with Haaland. Alex, is he a captaincy consideration this week? Or well, not even, he's obviously a consideration. Is he the one?
I mean, I guess the acquired wisdom would be, yeah, he would be the choice if he's fit and available. Now, I think one thing I would say is to pit him next to Bruno Fernandes. My view now is that Bruno Fernandes is the best FPL asset in the game. And I think that once again, we've seen a situation where the FPL community has been very slow to adjust to Haaland's slowdown. So I had a bit of a look at this. So Haaland is nearly at the end of his fourth season at City. He scored 47% of his goals for City in the first 10 game weeks of seasons. Of the 27 games where he scored 2+ goals, 15 of those have been in game weeks 1 to 10. 6 of his 8 hat-tricks have been in game week 1 to 10. Since game week 10 this season, Bruno Fernandes has 18 more points than him, despite Bruno having a period injured. Bruno has got double digits in our last 4 home games, and that's the one thing that maybe gives me pause this week. That he's hitting his halls at home, and not so much away recently. But I'm considering, and maybe I don't usually adjust my strategy depending on what my rank is, and I don't usually go like I want to chase now because I've got a. But I am considering this idea of just permanently captaining Fernandes. It's a week like this week when I probably have the biggest pause on that. But the fact that Haaland's had an issue, we don't know what his condition is, or what shape he's going to be in for the Forest game. Yeah, and and as I say, I think people have been slow to adjust to this. Like if these fixtures were the other way around, and say Haaland was completely fit, we knew he was fit, and we were at home to Forest and City were away to Newcastle, I think there'd be plenty of people still captaining Haaland, maybe. But yeah,
that would be way more reason to go for Bruno Fernandes under that set without a shadow of a doubt. I think games like Newcastle away would ordinarily want to take it on, but you could also spin the narrative and go, well, they've lost X amount of games in a row at home. Everton have just scored there 3 times. Why can't Haaland have a good day? Also, why can't Bruno Fernandes have a good day? Haaland at home to Forest, though, is not the sort of game that most people, if it was 100%, don't really want to have that sort of argument, which is also understandable.
Yeah, I can see that. But I mean, even the game at the weekend, before everyone knew about the, for me at the weekend, it was fairly clear cut for me to captain Bruno over Haaland. I know there were other choices, and some people went for Thiago at the weekend. But to me, and I heard what you said as well about ahead of the weekend, that the likelihood of it being quite a tight affair against Palace, and until the red card, it pretty much was. But to me, that was a clearer call than I think it seemed to be in the general community.
Yeah, I mean, but ultimately, if that red card decision doesn't happen, maybe you do lose 1-0.
But then you can also flip it and say that the red card happened as a result of Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, it's an incredible pass for Cunha,
yeah,
and an incredible cross for Sesko's goal as well.
Yeah.
I totally acknowledge that, mate.
I also think this might be a consideration, by the way, with Bruno, when let's just say we don't end up with a double game week in 33. There's going to be a big decision there for me. Because say it's quite a big double in game week 33, and you'll have people like I'm likely to wildcard in game week 32, which I think a lot of people will. And when you've got Bruno Fernandes playing home against Leeds in game week 32, but I think a lot of people will wildcard without him if we don't have a double in 33. If people are setting up for a bench boost, let's say Arsenal and Chelsea both get to the semis, say, I don't know, let's say there's going to be plenty of midfielders with doubles potentially available for 33. But I really think that's if people set themselves up to make it difficult to get Bruno Fernandes for that run in at the end of the season, I think that could be an edge you could have by compromising on the double game week with him.
Or compromising your bench boost to make sure
Yeah.
that you don't have to wildcard in game week 32. I mean, I'll certainly have Bruno Fernandes in 32. I think under that scenario, Alex, if you don't double in 33, which at the moment we project that you wouldn't at the moment, obviously needs Brentford to get to an FA Cup semi-final for that to happen, and also doesn't guarantee it, by the way, because neither side is in Europe, so it's not a guarantee that the fixture would get brought forward. But let's say you don't have a double, which would be the current projection. I think that many people in game week 32 will end up going with Fernandes and setting up to move to Semenyo as an example in 33, and they'll set that up as a move and say, "No, I'm not going without. I'll go without other United assets under that sort of circumstance, but no, I still want him in 32. I may well want to captain him in 32, and okay, they maybe don't double in 33. I'll move him on, or you just say, right, well, fine, I'll keep him for the single and use him even as part of your bench boost away to Chelsea. Ultimately, it's still a penalty taker, isn't it? Who could return at any time. He's got such high chances of involvement from various sources. But yeah, I agree with you. It's a very valid point. It's the sort of thing I've thought about. I wouldn't want to do that because I would want to set up to potentially move him on because probably on paper, yeah, he's probably the best captain in game week 32. We should also acknowledge at this point, Leeds have improved massively as well. Like it's their big game. They'll turn up and give you a proper football match.
They will, and I've been impressed with them recently. But then if you're going to wildcard with Bruno and then move him to Semenyo, does that mean you're not going to bother getting him back in 34 onwards? Because I would want him for that last five. It's not brilliant fixtures, but when we're only playing in the league and you're getting 90 minutes of, yeah.
Well, I think 34, Brentford at home, under this strategy, a lot of people obviously free hit, so they'd go in for Brentford at home in 34, definitely. Probably captain again under that sort of circumstance. Then, yes, 35 onwards, there's a decision. Maybe you take the route Liverpool, Sunderland, 35, 36. I'll come back to it for the last two, maybe. I mean, these things down the line, but you're right. There's a big acknowledgement that. The other thing that'll obviously play for people is how much value have they potentially got risen out of Bruno Fernandes, right? Was he 9-9 now?
He's going up to 10 tonight by the look of it.
At time recording, looks like he's going to go up, right? So there'll be people, I think I got him at 9-2, I think. So that would play on my mind. I don't particularly want to get rid of that player. I've got a number of other players in those sort of scenarios, so some of them will have to go, almost definitely. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I certainly wouldn't want to be without him now. I know that. I can't shake that Newcastle away doesn't feel right for captaincy. Almost in the same way that you said about Haaland if he had Newcastle away, Alex.
Yeah. And it's close for me.
There are plenty of others, aren't there? Like Ekateke's at Wolves. If Haaland's unavailable, Semenyo in the same fixture against Nottingham Forest. There are alternatives here to just Haaland and Fernandes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't have the two in my squad that you mentioned, so it might be squad dependent for people. But yeah, I'll probably end up on Haaland for this one and then go to my permacat Bruno strategy after that.
Anthony Gordon a consideration, sir? I certainly woke up or went to sleep thinking so the other day. I didn't see anything from the game at the weekend. If anything, I'm considering binning him back out. There's something not quite right there with the league form and whether it was just an Everton thing and probably my own bias thinking about how important the game was and the players not thinking it was as important. I definitely won't be captaining again.
No, I get that. Can we explain the Champions League returns? He's the second highest scorer in the Champions League, is
he? Yeah. He did a really interesting interview a couple of weeks ago where he seems very self-aware, in a good and bad way about certain things, and I think he's intentionally set himself some targets at the start of the season for Champions League, and things have kind of gone his way, and then you saw that with the penalty for the fourth goal. And him having a bit of an argument with Trippier about it. And I think
he was
that
quite
works
right,
both.
by the way. If he's a penalty taker, he should take it.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got no issues with that. I think it works kind of both ways when you're when you're so kind of cold and analytical about your own game, and when it's not going so well, I think there's issues like with him being able to kind of like adjust. And I personally think like the Liverpool stuff is still an issue from however many summers ago that was, 2 seasons ago. He hasn't felt like the same player since. Um, and like, yeah, if a big European club were to look at that record and think, oh, we'll have a bit of that, and a bigger offer came in, I wouldn't be happy, but I would be content for him to move on. It almost feels like we're at the point where outside of Bruno, pretty much all of them can go and we can start again, but still hesitant about like the back room and
Took my
the
players. I'll
the
do a
office.
swap.
No, not really. Not that lot. But I'm just not confident in the club is set up right now to kind of like to do that. So I don't know. It's still a bit of a mess. Like, is Anthony Gordon still a good player? Yes. Should he just be playing on the left wing? Like, yeah, that is his position. Is our other best winger also should be playing on the left wing? Yes. So I
Him
don't
and
know, just a bit of
Voltemade are
squad about.
nothing alike, and Visser's obviously joined with a bad injury, basically, and has not really got up to speed as far as I can tell so far. Gordon and Voltemade are so unalike, right? And Gordon obviously gives you this real high intensity press at the top end that Voltemade just wouldn't be able to do in quite the same way. So this with Gordon through the middle has worked quite well in some of the more high profile games where he's had the space in behind.
Yeah.
Premier League clubs just more aware of it. You take a few yards deeper, make sure that space isn't in behind.
Well, yeah. I mean, Everton were playing with like doing what Everton do away from home, and it's been successful. Yeah, in hindsight, it was a stupid transfer. Like, it was never going to be a game that he was going to play well in. I think Man U, it could be there could be
So I,
better
I
things to
really,
come.
do, I really don't think it was. I think it was a little bit punty, but you also know the player very well. And actually, there's fixtures to come here. United at home, still a home game. Chelsea away, okay, might be a bit messy, but they may have to rotate a bit because they've got 3 day turnarounds either side of that game. Then Sunderland at home, Palace away, Bournemouth at home. Okay, Arsenal away, but Arsenal away could get brought forward to be part of a double, right? So actually, for those running through, you'd look and go, actually, that run over the next five's not too bad for Newcastle. He looks like the standout. And there'll be a group of people now, Si, who own Declan Rice. Again, at time recording, we're not sure on his availability for this week. Rice is 7.5, Gordon is 7.2. Is that sort of move under that circumstance? Bearing in mind that's going to give you an additional and better player for 31. Is that a reasonable move, or would you want to go down to something else rather than Gordon now?
I'd honestly just avoid us until we're out the cup competitions. As a newfound Gordon owner, as of last week, yeah, I'm not feeling great about it. I probably won't get rid of him. I won't. It's another home game. He'll play, but his minutes will come down again around the cup competition. So he will get subbed off earlier unless he's having a blinder. So that's something to contend with. We just need Bruno back, I think, and that is probably going to fall in line with us being a one competition club again. And yeah, I'd say like at some point, probably around that period that you spoke of, like when we're like after the Barcelona second leg game, we'll know what competitions we're still in, and I think we will have a decent end to the season. But
So I guess, like for example, that Rice Gordon transfer we're talking about now, people might not think about it now, but those who hold Rice, it says he's available, may end up still thinking about the same transfer in 31
yeah,
going
if he
into the
scores
Sunderland
once or
game.
twice, he will become
Well, he
someone,
will win
and
the
he's got a
Champions League,
double.
won't he? That high line Barcelona have got, he's a certainty to score against them, mate.
Yeah, and then he might end up at Barcelona. I don't know, what's Rashford's situation? Is he coming
Bayern
back
Munich
to
covered,
United?
just so you know.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. I think now that Liverpool move didn't happen, I don't think we'd want to be, and we don't think we want to sell another player to them. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did get a move abroad in the summer, and it's probably a good thing for him at this point in his career, in all honesty.
I think Harry Kane likes him, by the way. Okay, so there's no point me doing that. Harry Wilson's also flagged. People can't afford Gordon. Should they consider Harvey Barnes instead, side? There's no point me doing that, is there?
He has looked a bit off the pace in the last few games, but it's not been helped with the way that he's been brought in and out of the team. He had a decent run of starts, but he was always the one that got shifted around. when we needed to make a tactical substitution, and he's been out the team last 2 weeks. And I don't know, feels like the sort of player like when you saw how he came on, I think he probably will start against United based on the reaction that the players gave, and we were better in the second half, and he had a lot to do with it. He should be playing in that team. We don't score enough goals, and we're not creative enough to not have him in the team, particularly when you've not got Bruno. You need players that are individually going to do something when you haven't got someone that can collectively knit the team together. So I think he will start. Will he start the Champions League games? Probably not. Like, will he start the cup game? I think you're not going to go in on this week and then see how what happens with the Man City Cup game, and then after that he might get a run. But I don't know. We talk about him every time I come on, and it's only ever a flash in the pan with him, fortunately.
It feels like for me, Harvey Barnes almost needs Gordon unavailable. I think
Yeah,
that kind of happened in sort of the double game week period towards last year. He had a real run, didn't he? And Gordon was unavailable.
but he played Gordon up front against Everton, and he
No,
still
I
did
know,
not play
but if
Barnes in the
Gordon is
team. It's
unavailable, I
absolutely
think we can feel way
yeah,
more confident that Barnes will play on the left
yeah.
as
I
a
don't know
consequence.
how just doesn't think tactically. He's not set up for what he wants out of that position. I'm not sure what it is, but he like in our position in the league, and he should be at least starting some of the last few games. So I'd expect him to get a decent run, and he might be the one that ends up like winning someone in mini league or something if they put him in. But again, I just wouldn't bother until we're kind of clear of all of these cup games.
Okay, since I'm going on the hypotheticals, Alex, we don't know the state of Erling Haaland at the moment. Now, if ruled out for a while, he probably needs spinning as well, considering his own blank most likely in game week 31. Lots of potential contenders. How high should Benjamin Sesko rank on people's agenda?
Yeah, I knew that was where you were going with that. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, first of all, what a player we've got on our hands. He's just won our February Club Player of the Month, having played 84 minutes in February,
I love
which is
that.
yeah. He just
Especially over a period where you've been playing very well. It's not like, oh, he's coming
yeah.
on. I know he's had a big impact, but it's not like, oh, you've been losing and he's coming on and scoring equalising goals. You've been playing well as well.
But he has won us he has gained us a lot. I think it's 7 points now. His goals in the last 5 games or something has gained us something like
That's spot on, I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah. And I've just been impressed with his maturity, his attitude. I think he had a lot of unfair criticism at the start of the season, like lazy comparisons with Rasmus Højlund based on nothing other than being a young striker moving here from an overseas league. In terms of being an FPL asset, though, I can see why it's tempting. I mean, I'm in a situation now myself where I need to sell. Well, I still have Ollie Watkins because I've not been able to get rid of him, and but the thing is, there's Ekiteke for me. It depends what your options are and which players you've already got in place. The thing with Sesko is he's probably not going to play more than 75 minutes. He's probably going to get a run in the side now, but I don't think he's guaranteed to start every single game going forward. Like a game or two, if you bring him in now, there's a chance he doesn't score against Newcastle and Villa, and then Carrick changes it up a little bit because it was working so well with the dynamic we had and him making an impact from the bench. But I don't mind it as a bit of a wild card, and I am slightly tempted myself. But yeah, it's more for one of those people who want to do something a little bit different, I guess.
Yeah, I hear that. I think probably at this moment, probably Ekiteke or Thiago would probably be more sensible buys at this moment in most cases. But then beyond that, if you're sitting there, and there will be people sitting with those two and Haaland, Luton sell Haaland, we can't go over those two already got. The choices, alternatives are a bit thin on the ground. You look at João Pedro and go, well, fixtures aren't the best. Villa away this week. There's the potential problem of his own minutes against Simon's team in game week 30. Fulham, Jimenez, but Muniz is back fit now. Bournemouth, Evan Nilsson, Krupi. It's a bit Brighton, Welbeck. Welbeck, is not going to play all the games. You start looking at Calvert-Lewin. Hang on, I've got this guy's in form, scoring goals every week for the team that's third. It's an over thing. His XG per 90 is 0.49. For reference, Ekateke's is 0.51. And Ekateke's is good.
Is there a
And
little bit of
Sesko's
an
nearly matching that. I get it. It's later in games and
yeah?
more chances perhaps and stuff, more space. I understand those sort of things, but it stacks up quite well.
Yeah. And also, I mean, just the quality shown in terms of the variety of goals he can score now. We saw he's excellent in the air. He's got two very good feet. He's strong. He's fast. The goal against Everton. I mean, the way he got so far ahead of Tarkowski that he had time to kind of slow down and compose himself for the finish. He's he's got a lot of game. So yeah, and as you say, he's confident. I don't think like he's never really looked phased to me by even in the earlier part of the season. I mean, he didn't start that badly anyway. He scored two goals fairly early in the season, and most of his performances, I think, have been pretty good anyway. But it's this kind of this mentality and this composure he has, and that he's clearly got a confidence about him now. So yeah, I don't mind it, but streaks are there to come to an end. So yeah,
There is normally someone though in the second half of a season who goes on a bit of a run who would have been in no one's thought process until it started happening. And Benjamin Sesko, you look around the league, feels like the closest could be to that player at the moment.
yeah. And I guess if you got that kind of opportunity and you can make that move, then it's one of those where like if he carries on doing it, it'll be in everyone's team. If he scores in the next three games, if he keeps doing this, then he's going to end up in everyone's team before too long, right? So,
well, quite possibly, yeah. 7.3.
yeah.
Quite possibly.
So,
where would you stand on Mbeumo versus Cunha at the moment if people are looking now?
it's clearly Mbeumo for me, that one.
Why is that clear?
I feel actually, I could do with checking Patrick Dorgu's injury status because when he comes back, he's a while away yet.
Yeah, we don't think before the blank.
No. Okay. So I just feel that Mbeumo is likely to be involved in more attacking returns, and Cunha's place feels slightly more at risk as well. And I feel like Mbeumo is probably going to play more minutes. And there's obviously the price difference between the two. There's 0.7 between the two. So if that's a factor, if that's a factor, then it's not a huge difference between the two. But for me, Mbeumo would be it's just a slightly better FPL asset.
Okay. Amad Diallo, obviously a potential threat based on the team that started at the weekend. Well, that's part of the question. Who is it a threat to? Is it Sesko? Is it Mbeumo? Is it Cunha? It's obviously not Fernandes.
Well, I didn't in the instance where Sesko was going to start. My view is it was between Amad and Cunha who made way. I think Mbeumo is a lock to start games. I would be very surprised to see him not start games.
Casemiro's got more FPL points than him now.
Then who? Cunha?
No, then
Amad.
Mbeumo,
So yeah,
Cunha and Amad. All of them. He's got 9 attacking returns, Casemiro, for the season, for the record.
And what's interesting about him now, but it's also concerning for me as a fan, is that he's playing a lot of minutes.
Yeah, I knew you were say that.
He's right. So he's averaged 86 minutes a game under Carrick. Under Amorim, he was averaging 72 minutes a start. This is the thing with I saw this stat yesterday. We've lost our last 7 Premier League games. We've lost our last 7 Premier League games that he didn't start.
Wow.
And we've lost one of the last 24 that he has started. That's how important he is to us. I mean, even right. So the only game under Carrick where he's come off before 80 minutes, he came off again after 75 against Fulham, and we then conceded 2 goals in the last 15 minutes. So, like, what happens if Casemiro gets injured? Like, it is a big concern that if he does his hamstring again this week, then we're in trouble. As an FPL asset, he's very, very interesting. He has attacking threat. He has goals in him. He should have had one against Palace, but he has that aerial threat. He's great in both boxes. He'll pick up some defcons. He's got defcon in the last 2 games, but they're the only games under Carrick when he has. Yeah. But I think he will get he'll maybe once every 2 or 3 games you'll get a defcon from him. And at 5.6, I don't think there's really a better asset in the game at that price.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. I think he's in. I did a piece a few weeks ago on our Patreon of him, Anton Stack, James Garner, and Elliot Anderson. The big concern with Casemiro was always the minutes. Like, if it's there, he's clearly a much bigger goal threat than the other guys being mentioned there. So potentially, why not? Particularly over a period where people do stress about the minutes and stuff. And actually, I think in the past, sort of Christmas period, those sort of things have been a concern with him. With the one game of the week, the concern doesn't sit there, but it's just not flashy, is it? Oh, I'm wasting a Man United spot on Casemiro. I think that's how it feels to a lot of people. But he would be a reasonable pickup, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, if you're shopping for a player around that price, I don't hate it at all.
Okay. Sire, people have got flags everywhere, including me, and I'm a Malick Thiaw owner. How comfortable should I be if I need to play him this week?
How good or bad are Man set pieces, defending set pieces, Alex? You tell me.
Defending set pieces.
Yeah.
We've been better since Senna Lamans has been around. I mean, Everton threw everything at that against us last week, but
I saw
yeah,
the Mark Goldbridge comment actually about him.
yeah, we,
Um,
we've we've improved in that regard, but I still feel like we're vulnerable. Is a good way to put it, I guess.
I genuinely think he's one of the, I don't know where it's come from because he did not profile like this for Milan, but I think he's generally one of the best defensive like threats from set pieces like in the league. Like technically, composure wise, like Arteta must be like have him on some sort of Arsenal shortlist if any of his centre backs decide to leave. So I think he's an option in most games. He he was almost at fault for that effort that not Barry, was the other lad,
Beto
right
when he
front,
hit the bar
Beto.
when he was
Yeah, was
claiming
it
it went
out
out
of
of play.
play?
Yeah,
I didn't see the replay of it, or
he should
not, but
deal with it
like
better.
he he's played so many games that the games where he does make a mistake, you think that's kind of out of character, but you also are basically playing all the time. He
Yeah,
did get
I feel like there was a very similar one against João Pedro. Similar area of
yeah.
the pitch when you drew with Chelsea.
He talking about profiles, he is one when we signed him where people that knew his game said he likes to come in and commit to challenges. So sometimes he can get kind of caught out. That's why I think him and someone like Botman are quite a good pairing. If you need to play him, play him. Like it might be a game that he could pop up with something. He's not quite like the Fabian Schär. Like he had one opportunity against Everton where he kind of like strode into the 25 yards out, and you thought if that was Schär, he definitely would be smashing this goalwards, and he just laid it off. So he's not quite that kind of centre back. But if you're in a pinch and you've got other fires to fight, like yeah, why not?
Yeah,
So it's something to be two 1 point or one point or worse,
his
probably.
return since the 17 pointer against Crystal Palace in game week 20 almost feel like they sum him up a little bit. -1, 9, 1, 0, 1, 11, 3, 1. There's a lot of shit in there, but if he scores essentially,
We've been playing a lot of shit,
and
so
the 0-0 you had at Wolves, 9 pointer.
yeah,
So it doesn't
yeah.
hit many def cons, but a little bit capable. I suppose if someone, I guess maybe not this week, side, but maybe into game week 31, I think a lot of teams are going to look at their teams and think they're quite light defensively. Yours will be one of the better backed sides, I think, for clean sheets in game week 31, despite it being the North East derby. If people want to invest in him there, even if it's short term, just say 31 to 33 or something like that. Chow is the one.
We're not keeping a clean sheet in that game. It's gonna be
I
too
hear you.
hectic. But if you're saying if on paper it looks like one, I think he's a good player. I had him until like fairly recently. Where I had four Man City players, so I had to sell one. I had five transfers. I didn't know what to do with them, so I got rid of half my team, and he was one of them. I probably will be end up buying him back. I think towards the end of the season. If not him, Lewis Hall. If he's playing one game a week, I think will be a shoe in it like left back. Um, he's for his potential in any given game week, he's a bit boom or bust. But yeah, I'd sort of if you've got the squad depth to bench him in some games and try and chance it. I think I've benched him for one game, one of his big hauls this season. But yeah, good player.
Me
Twice.
too. Me two of them actually. At least I caught one of them. Now he's been a fine asset, but yeah, most often when he's been in the team, it's felt like once and stuff. As you said, you don't keep too many clean sheets. Alex, for yourselves, you picked up a few flags at the weekend. Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw. What's the expectation at time recording?
So Carrick said after the game, I think the comments came out yesterday that Maguire and Shaw, they're both feeling unwell. But it didn't. It looks like Shaw got a knock and then came off because he came off after like 24
Yeah,
minutes.
it's early, yeah.
Yeah, so it looked like oh, he started every game this season, but Carrick has said that they were just both unwell and that's why they came off. So I mean, I'll be surprised with that with Shaw, but that's apparently the line, and you'd hope that in a couple of days that they would get over something like that. Are there any flags other than those two? I don't think so. In terms of
Martinez, obviously, recent problem as well as a blow. You don't play out as well without him, right? He's a good footballer.
yeah, I mean he's. I remember you had a question on one of your the Patreon Q&A a couple of weeks ago about creating a press resistant
Oh,
an
yeah,
11 of
I said he'd probably go in. Yeah,
yeah, but yeah, he's we are a much better at his ability to play through lines. We miss him when he's not there, and we missed him a lot in the first half of the season. In terms of when he's going to be back, I don't think he's an FPL asset, I have to say. But he won't be back for the Newcastle game. I'll be surprised, but it sounds like he's close. So we've got 11 days after Newcastle until we play Villa. I would have thought he'll probably be okay for that game.
Maguire's a little bit of a tempter.
Yeah, absolutely. He is the only player other than Casemiro who's probably going to get some DEFCONs. I think he's hit 4 out of 7 under Carrick. He is what 4.4.
He is.
He is. I think he has his place now. Like De Ligt. I mean, I feel like right off the season for De Ligt at this point, there's been cryptic updates on him for months. He's not played since I think it's at least 3 months now. It's around that anyway. And Maguire has been performing well. I'm not even sure that De Ligt. I mean, De Ligt was superb when he was available. In the way we've been playing, I think Maguire just keeps playing. So when you've got that, and when you've got the fact that our defensive numbers have significantly improved, but also the fixtures are not really there for a defensive asset, is the downside.
Fair.
Yeah.
I look at 32 though, and know that other people might be wild card and I might be keeping. So does depend on your strategy. I think if you're dead end into 32, assets like that look better. If you're dead end into 31, you're not looking. That's probably where it's at, I would say.
Yeah, that's about right. Because we've got Bournemouth in 31. Not a good fixture for clean sheets. But yeah, I don't mind it. And again, it's again going to be squad dependent, situation dependent, but it's not terrible, not a terrible option.
Okay, gents, thank you both so much. Let's do correct score predictions before we finish. Si?
No, why not be optimistic and say we'll bag a draw out of this? I feel like we were drawing a lot of games at the start of the season and then haven't recently. Fuck it. 3-1. Gordon hat-trick, triple captain. Let's go.
All right, mate. I'll give you money if you do it, honestly. Go on in, Alex.
I was considering predicting that we lose, but I'm going to say 1-1 actually. Like I say, I'm just never confident about this fixture, regardless of form. I'll say 1-1, though. I think we'll keep it tight, and I would be all right with that result. I think it'd be a reasonable result to get at St James's.
Okay, those predictions don't scream Fernandes captain.
There is always that. Like it's a good exercise, isn't it, to do fixture predictions and then base your captaincy on that. Sorry, score predictions.
Do you think Sesko's going to play out of interest? Sorry, I mean, we kind of covered it earlier. I don't think he should, based on like how Everton caused us problems and
quite let's rogue cycle.
A barrier at the end. No, I just think like playing your kind of front three with as like the attacking midfielders will work better against us for the first hour of the game and then bring him on afterwards. But I don't know if he's planning on rotating or not.
You're on mute, Alex. Sorry, mate.
Oops.
You're good.
Yeah, I think you might be right from a tactical perspective, but I think Sesko will start. Carrick has not. Sesko starting against Palace was the first change he's made to a lineup that wasn't forced by injury.
Yeah.
So I think he plays. He started. He scored the winner. I think he plays. I think Carrick will just keep it.
I think simplicity as well. So I see that Beto and Barry both scored at the weekend against you. Oh, Sesko, I presume United fans think is probably a little bit better. Gents, thank you both very much. Anything you want to plug, Si?
Not at all.
Thank you.
I don't know. This might be the last time I'm on this season, so thanks everyone.
Oh, I'm gonna try and have you
Save
back,
me
mate.
for my Eddie Howe sacking, Oddeye.
Yeah, that's the fan view. Michael Carrick unveiling. Alex, anything for you, mate?
Yeah, just Planet FPL Patreon, great community. Get yourself involved. Maybe Carrick will end up at Spurs next season. Who knows?
I'd take him. I mean, to be honest, I'll take one of you two at the moment. Gents, thank you both so much. Very best of luck to you. Remember, deadline stream at 5 p.m. UK time on YouTube. Ask James tomorrow at lunchtime as well. Next week's Clash of Correspondents is scheduled to be Burnley versus Bournemouth ahead of Game Week 30 with Jack Tone and Neil Grover. That's likely to be available for you next Wednesday. Just leaves me to say thanks very much to Sire and Alex. Good luck, gents. Cue music, please, man child.